Custer's last stand, a phrase that resonates through the corridors of American history, conjuring up vivid images of heroism, valor, and an inevitable tragedy. This dramatic event often eclipses a lesser-known, yet equally significant narrative, the tale of Tullock's Creek. While the name Tullock's Creek may not immediately evoke a sense of familiarity for many, it emerges from the depths of military history, illuminated by the fateful orders of Brigadier General Alfred H. Terry to the ambitious yet impetuous George Custer. In the shadow of grand battles and heroic figures, this seemingly inconsequential tributary played a pivotal role in one of the most renowned military campaigns of the American West, embodying both the promise of opportunity and the peril of folly. The backdrop of Tullock's Creek is steeped in tension, a landscape brimming with uncertainty and the thrill of the unknown. Custer's fateful decision to disregard Terry's explicit directive to scout Tullock's Creek sparked considerable debate among historians and enthusiasts alike, marking a critical moment in a drama unfolding on the frontier. This missed opportunity, a point of contention among scholars, underscored the precariousness of the situation, one that would soon culminate in a clash that would echo through the ages, leaving an indelible mark on the psyche of a nation. As the narrative of Tullock's Creek first took shape during the tumultuous summer campaign, a significant moment emerged on the evening of April 24th. The air was thick with anticipation as Colonel John Gibbon, a man known for his strategic mind and unwavering resolve, entrusted Captain Edward Ball with a mission that would test the mettle of his men. The order was clear: lead 2 companies of the 2nd Cavalry, specifically Ball's own H Company and Lt. Charles Rose's F Company, on a treacherous journey up the Bighorn River toward the now-abandoned Fort C.F. Smith. The stakes were impossibly high. The mission was fraught with peril, as among their many objectives, Ball and his men were tasked with locating a Black Hills mining party rumored to be hidden within the rugged terrain, an endeavor that promised not only potential riches, but also a testament to the bravery and resolve of those who dared to venture into the unknown. The very thought of hidden gold stirred the hearts of the soldiers, igniting a fire of ambition within their chests. As they set forth under the vast, starry sky, the weight of history hung heavily in the air, their fate intricately intertwined with the larger narrative of Custer's campaign, a tale marked by courage, tragedy, and the relentless march of fate. As the soldiers moved into the deepening twilight, a hush fell over the landscape, the only sounds being the soft rustle of grass and the distant murmur of the Bighorn River. Shadows danced on the banks, their flickering forms a haunting reminder of the dangers that lay ahead. Each soldier felt the tension in the air, a palpable sense of foreboding mixed with exhilaration. They were not merely following orders, they were stepping into the annals of history, a journey fraught with both peril and potential. To navigate the treacherous terrain with confidence and skill, Captain Edward Ball understood the necessity of enlisting the help of seasoned scouts well acquainted with the region. Among them was Tom LaForge, a skilled guide whose eyes had seen the land in ways that eluded even the most experienced soldiers. LaForge was a man of few words, yet his presence exuded a calm authority that instilled confidence in those around him. Beside him was Jack Rabbit Bull, a Crow Indian whose intimate knowledge of the land and its secrets proved invaluable. His insights were steeped in the wisdom of generations, his instincts finely tuned to the rhythms of nature. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond, a partnership that would guide the company through the treacherous paths ahead. Accompanying them were George Herondine, a resourceful scout known for his quick thinking and unwavering loyalty, and the intrepid Muggins Taylor, whose exuberance and keen sense of adventure often masked a sharp intellect. Together, they forged a dynamic team, united by a shared purpose and the promise of the unknown. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the wilderness, their camaraderie blossomed into a brotherhood, each man relying on the other's strengths to confront the challenges that awaited them. As they traversed the undulating landscape, the rugged beauty of the terrain unfolded before them, a tapestry of lush valleys, towering cliffs, and winding rivers. The air was alive with the scent of pine and earth, a reminder of nature's untamed splendor. Yet, beneath this serene facade lurked danger, hidden in the shadows of the mountains and the whispers of the wind. The soldiers were acutely aware of the risks they faced, knowing that hostile forces could be lurking just beyond the next bend, ready to spring forth at any moment. As they approached the vicinity of Tullock's Creek, the atmosphere thickened with anticipation. Here, the land bore witness to countless tales of struggle and survival, a place where many had ventured, but few had returned unscathed. The creek itself wound its way through the rugged terrain, a serpentine ribbon of water that seemed to beckon them closer, its banks a rich tapestry of greenery contrasting with the rocky outcrops that surrounded it. Each ripple of the water whispered secrets of the past, tales of those who had tread this path before, their hopes and dreams woven into the very fabric of the land. It was in this tense atmosphere that Captain Ball and his men prepared to face their fate. As they reached the banks of Tullock's Creek, the moon hung low in the sky, casting an ethereal glow over the scene. The water shimmered like liquid silver, reflecting the stars above, a breathtaking sight that belied the turmoil brewing beneath the surface. It was here that the soldiers would confront not only the challenges of the land, but also the specter of their own ambitions and fears. The creek's gentle murmur became a haunting lullaby, a reminder of the delicate balance between nature's beauty and its inherent dangers. Suddenly, a rustling in the underbrush shattered the stillness, sending a ripple of tension through the ranks. Hearts raced as the soldiers instinctively reached for their weapons, eyes scanning the darkness for any signs of movement. Was it merely a deer or something more sinister lurking in the shadows? The question hung heavy in the air, a palpable anxiety that charged the atmosphere with a sense of impending conflict. As they remained poised on the precipice of uncertainty, a shadow emerged from the darkness, a figure silhouetted against the moonlit backdrop. The tension reached a crescendo, breaths held in collective anticipation as the figure stepped into the light. It was one of their own, a scout returning with urgent news. The air was electric with possibility as he relayed the latest intelligence. A group of hostile warriors had been spotted in the vicinity, their numbers and intentions unknown. The implications were clear. They were no longer just hunters in search of gold. They had become prey in a deadly game of survival. The mood shifted dramatically, the sense of camaraderie morphing into a steely resolve. Captain Ball gathered his men, rallying them with words that echoed with purpose. They were soldiers, bound by duty and honor, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. With determination etched on their faces, they prepared to forge ahead, knowing that their actions in the coming hours would echo through the annals of history. With every step toward Tullock's Creek, the air thickened with tension, the stakes escalating as they drew closer to their destiny. The creek, once a symbol of opportunity, now represented a formidable battleground, one where courage and strategy would be tested, where the whispers of the past would converge with the promises of the future. Each soldier felt the weight of history upon their shoulders, an acknowledgement of the legacy they were about to inherit. As they crossed the banks of Tullock's Creek, the soldiers found themselves at a crossroads, an intersection of fate that would determine not only their survival, but also the unfolding saga of the American West. In this pivotal moment, they stood united against the encroaching darkness, their resolve unwavering as they faced the uncertainty of the night. This was more than a mission. It was a defining chapter in a grand narrative that would resonate for generations to come. The culmination of their journey lay ahead, where the echoes of Custer's ambitions collided with the realities of warfare. Little did they know, the path they had chosen would intertwine with the broader canvas of history, a tale of valor, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of glory that would forever be etched in the collective memory of a nation. As they plunged into the depths of the unknown, the spirit of Tullock's Creek would rise alongside them, a silent witness to the drama that was about to unfold, as the fates of men and the course of history danced in an intricate, tragic ballet. The fateful decisions made in those fleeting moments would ripple outward, shaping the destinies of countless souls, forever altering the landscape of the American West. In this uncharted territory, where ambition met the harsh realities of life and death, the true essence of heroism would be tested, revealing not only the strength of a soldier's spirit, but the complexities of human nature itself. As the night deepened and the stars twinkled above like a million watchful eyes, Captain Edward Ball and his men prepared to face whatever challenges awaited them, their hearts steeled by the knowledge that their legacy would endure, woven into the fabric of history, intertwined with the mythos of Custer's last stand and the enigmatic tale of Tullock's Creek. As the sun dipped below the horizon on April 27th at approximately 5:15 p.m., Ball's column set forth from the lush hayfields surrounding Fort C.F. Smith. They traversed 3 arduous miles, reaching the historic site of the fort, a mere 75 miles from the confluence of the Bighorn River. With determination fueling their resolve, they pressed onward, and by midnight, they established a camp at Rotten Grass Creek, weary yet exhilarated by the journey thus far. The dawn of the next day brought renewed vigor as Ball's forces broke camp around 9:25 a.m. The crisp morning air was invigorating, and by 10:10 a.m., they had arrived at a tributary of Rotten Grass Creek, their spirits high as they maneuvered through the rolling hills. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, they created a high divide, their hearts filled with anticipation. By 11 a.m., they were en route to Lodge Grass Creek, a waterway known to the local indigenous tribes as Long Creek, a name that echoed with history and cultural significance. As the day wore on, Ball's group pressed forward, and by 6 p.m., they reached the banks of the Little Bighorn. The serene beauty of the river provided a stark contrast to the intensity of their mission. They set up camp on the western bank, the water's gentle murmur serving as a reminder of the land's timeless presence, while the weight of their journey and the challenges ahead lingered in the air, setting the stage for the unfolding drama of their expedition. The debate surrounding the movements and strategies of the forces in this region hinges intricately on the complexities of terrain, distance, and the formidable challenge of accurately following the trails. As Captain Edward Ball and Lieutenant Rowe made their way back to Gibbon's command on May 1st, retracing their steps via Tullock's Creek, they reported a disheartening absence of any signs of Indian presence. This seemingly uneventful return trip, however, would prove pivotal in cementing Tullock's Creek's significance in the annals of history. In a move that underscored the strategic importance of this valley, Gibbon promptly sent a telegram to General Terry highlighting the findings of Ball and Rowe. The commanders of the time understood that this valley held critical implications for their operations, even if its full potential was yet to be realized. The maps they relied upon were woefully inaccurate, offering no clear guidance on the potential movements of the Sioux, who might veer east, south, west, or even north to cross the Yellowstone behind Gibbon's forces. By mid-June, suspicions began to circulate among the ranks that the Sioux could have indeed established a camp in the Tullock's Creek Valley, a vast expanse described by Willard as a broad valley running obliquely to the Yellowstone, serving as a natural conduit to the lower Bighorn River and opening up near the Rosebud Valley. This geographical feature not only provided a strategic advantage for the Sioux, but also posed a critical question for Gibbon and his men. Given these factors, it becomes crucial to reevaluate what General Terry truly expected from his cavalry commander. The weight of anticipation and uncertainty loomed large, and the decisions made during this period would echo through the pages of history, shaping the narratives of both the military and the indigenous peoples whose lives were intertwined with this land. As the tension mounted and the clock ticked toward confrontation, the stakes were higher than ever, and the outcome remained shrouded in the mists of fate, leaving both sides poised on the precipice of a momentous clash. The significance of Tullock's Creek lies deeply intertwined with the assumption that General Custer would dutifully adhere to his orders. Yet, all too frequently, Custer's bold exploits are romanticized, overshadowing the critical importance of the directives issued to him. Ignoring the necessity of thoroughly scouting this vital area suggests a troubling misinterpretation of his responsibilities, which is a misconception. General Terry's orders were unambiguous and left no room for personal interpretation. Custer was explicitly tasked with scouting the upper reaches of Tullock's Creek and reporting his findings back to Colonel Gibbon. Alarmingly, he neglected to fulfill either requirement. Furthermore, Custer was directed to continue south, even if the Indian Trail seemed to lead in a different direction, as Terry anticipated that it would ultimately curve toward the Little Bighorn. Additionally, Tullock Creek stood as a familiar landmark for the expedition, while the route chosen by Terry and Gibbon ventured into the uncharted and daunting terrain, fraught with uncertainty. Custer's failure to scout this critical area wasn't merely a tactical oversight. It was a profound misjudgment that denied Terry the opportunity to navigate a potentially safer and more strategically advantageous path. This misstep not only compromised their mission, but also foreshadowed the challenges that lay ahead. To deepen the intrigue, consider a brief detour into the events surrounding Major Marcus Reno's dispatch on June 10th, tasked with scouting the Powder Pumpkin and Tongue Rivers. Interestingly, there was no formal written directive forbidding him from venturing into the Rosebud Valley. This omission raises a compelling point. Some historians, such as John Gray, contend that Reno may have received verbal instructions to avoid that area, driven by concerns that his presence might prematurely alert the Sioux to their movements. However, when Reno disregarded this purported instruction and returned with valuable intelligence, he faced admonishment from Terry and scorn from Custer. Interestingly, many historians and students of the infamous battle contend that the optimal moment for Herendeen to navigate down Tullock Creek was precisely after 9 p.m. on the night of June 24th. This was a pivotal moment, especially after Mitch Boyer and several scouts returned with critical intelligence indicating that the Indian Trail veered toward the Little Bighorn. However, some skeptics argue that sending Herendeen at that hour would have been an exercise in futility, as the river's treacherous terrain might have hindered his timely arrival. Yet, such a viewpoint overlooks a crucial aspect of the situation. General Terry was under the impression that the Sioux were securely camped in the Little Bighorn Valley. What he truly needed to ascertain was whether the Sioux village had stealthily slipped into the Tullock Valley, thereby eluding his forces. By neglecting to scout this vital area, Custer unwittingly created a perilous blind spot, a gap that could have allowed the Sioux to slip away unnoticed between the two encroaching forces. Ultimately, Custer's actions, or conspicuous lack thereof, marked a turning point in a chapter of American history that still echoes through the corridors of time. His cavalier disregard for the strategic importance of scouting Tullock Creek was not just an oversight, it amounted to a grave miscalculation that would prove disastrous. As the sun dipped below the horizon on that fateful day, casting long shadows over the rugged terrain, Custer's failure to gather crucial intelligence deprived General Terry of essential information, thus severely limiting tactical options during a moment that would soon erupt into chaos. The implications of these decisions were not confined to the battlefield. They rippled through history, shaping the narrative of one of the most significant confrontations between the U.S. Army and Native American forces, altering perceptions and realities for generations to come. Custer's fateful decision to pursue the Indian Trail to Little Bighorn was far from a straightforward execution of Terry's orders. It was a path laden with complexity and fraught with tension. In reality, Terry had presumed that this trail would naturally lead to their destination when drafting his directives, a calculated yet dangerously simplistic assumption. While it was undeniably crucial to explore the upper reaches of Tullock Creek, the precise details surrounding the Sioux's movements toward Little Bighorn remained nebulous and uncharted in those orders. This oversight would prove significant, a fatal chink in the armor of what should have been a meticulously planned military campaign. On the evening of June 24th, an eerie calm enveloped the camp as Terry likely sat in contemplation, presuming that Custer was diligently continuing his march along the Rosebud River. Unbeknownst to him, the Sioux forces were cautiously maneuvering through the more gradual terrain of the Little Bighorn Valley, plotting and strategizing in the shadows, their eyes keenly watching the movements of their adversaries. This misconception highlights a crucial aspect of military command: the persistent worry of hostile forces dispersing into the vastness of the landscape, a concern that reverberates throughout history. It is a timeless fear, one that has haunted commanders from ancient battlefields to modern theaters of war, reflecting the universal anxiety that a well-placed enemy could vanish into the wilderness, leaving nothing but the echoes of conflict behind. As the night stretched on, a palpable tension filled the air, laden with the scent of impending violence. In the rugged expanse of the frontier, Native Americans had developed a reputation for their strategic avoidance of direct confrontations, skillfully utilizing their unparalleled mobility to elude capture. Their tactical brilliance was underpinned by a deep-seated fear among military commanders, the anxiety that their villages might fracture and disperse at any moment, leaving their soldiers grasping at shadows. This fear, while certainly understandable, cast a long shadow over their judgment, blinding military officers to the critical dimensions of the unfolding situation. Such myopia led to catastrophic losses that could have been avoided, turning a potential victory into a harrowing defeat that would stain the annals of history with blood and regret. Picture the scene: the quiet murmurs of soldiers settling into their makeshift camps, the crackling of fires illuminating worried faces, each man grappling with the uncertainty of the days to come. They were not just soldiers, they were fathers, brothers, and sons, each harboring dreams and aspirations that lay shattered in the face of impending doom. The air was thick with tension, anticipation pulsating through the veins of every soldier, yet it was not fear that gripped them. It was a profound sense of foreboding, a silent acknowledgement that something was amiss. Meanwhile, the Sioux, masters of their domain, readied themselves for the confrontation that was to come. They knew the land as intimately as their own heartbeat, every ridge and valley a part of their legacy. They had watched from the high ground, eyes narrowed against the fading light, calculating the distance and angles, assessing their odds as Custer's troops trudged unknowingly into a meticulously laid trap. For them, the stakes were higher than mere territory. It was a fight for survival, a struggle to preserve way of life against a relentless tide of encroachment. In those tense moments, as decisions were made and paths were taken, the clash of cultures and destinies hung in the balance. Custer's hubris, coupled with his underestimation of the enemy, would soon manifest in a catastrophic showdown that would unfold in a series of violent confrontations, each more desperate than the last. The battlefield would transform into a crucible of chaos, where the echoes of gunfire would reverberate through the valley, mingling with the cries of warriors, each sound a testament to the fierce struggle for autonomy and existence. The consequences of these decisions reverberated through time, shaping not just the narrative of a single battle, but the broader story of the American West. The memory of Custer's last stand became a symbol, a haunting reminder of the complexities of warfare, the tragic consequences of underestimating an adversary, and the bittersweet legacy of those who fought on both sides. Historians would sift through the remnants of that fateful encounter for decades, seeking to understand the myriad factors that contributed to such a dramatic clash, unraveling the threads of a story that was as much about pride, prejudice, and power as it was about bullets and bravery. In the end, Custer's cavalier approach to leadership and strategic planning stood as a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of war, a cautionary tale echoing through the ages. It underscores the notion that every choice, every assumption, carries weight, sometimes with grave consequences that alter the course of history itself. As we reflect on this pivotal moment, we are reminded that the ghosts of the past linger in the shadows, their stories woven into the fabric of our shared narrative, urging us to learn from the echoes of history and the lessons it imparts. As the fateful days leading up to the Battle of Little Bighorn unfolded, the narrative can be dissected into two interconnected phases, commencing on June 24th. Notably, the first phase did not witness any clashes. Rather, it served as a pivotal period of decision-making for Lieutenant Colonel George Custer. At the heart of this strategic conundrum lay a crucial question. Did Custer err in his choice to pursue the trail of the Native Americans from Busby into the daunting Davis Creek Valley? This initial phase, fraught with tension, was characterized by Custer's contentious decision not to dispatch Captain Herendeen down Tullock Creek, a blatant defiance of General Terry's explicit orders. Custer's insubordination was glaring and undeniable, setting the stage for a dramatic clash that would alter the course of history. Terry granted Custer little room for maneuver, a reality that highlights a critical disconnect between civilian reasoning and the stark realities of military command. His orders were meticulously crafted, permitting deviations only under very specific circumstances and requiring unequivocal justification. Simply following the trail left by the enemy did not suffice to meet these stringent criteria. In this context, Custer's failure was not merely tactical. It was a profound strategic miscalculation that reverberated long before any tactical discussions could even begin. Had the Native American forces pressed southward along the Little Bighorn, Custer would have found himself in an untenable position, utterly unable to rationalize his decisions to Terry, his commanding officer. This would have meant a dangerous detachment from Terry's protective covering force, a gamble that could cost him dearly. By neglecting the vital option to scout Tullock Creek, Custer effectively disregarded the very essence of Terry's strategy, undermining the collaborative military effort. The truth is stark. Custer disobeyed explicit orders, and had he lived to face the consequences of his actions, he would have struggled to mount a credible defense. The stakes were high, and by 7 a.m., the implications of his choices loomed ever larger, threatening to unravel the mission and alter the course of history itself. On June 24th, General Custer appeared to be diligently adhering to the strategic plan laid out by General Terry, as evidenced by his directive to scout Tullock Creek. However, Herondine, the scout, cautioned that it was premature to venture forth, with the headwaters still a considerable distance away. This exchange hints at Custer's initial commitment to his orders and the meticulous nature of his planning. By 9:20 a.m., the morning sun had cast its golden rays over the rugged terrain, illuminating the dense foliage and the winding paths that the scouts of Custer navigated with practiced ease. The air was crisp, carrying the earthy scent of damp soil and the distant calls of native birds. Amidst this serene backdrop, the scouts made a significant discovery: an abandoned Sioux camp near East Muddy Creek. The camp's remnants, weathered tents, scattered supplies, and hastily abandoned belongings, hinted at recent activity, stirring a mix of excitement and concern within Custer's ranks. The discovery was not merely an abandoned site, it was a silent testament to the recent movements of the Sioux, suggesting that the tribe was active in the area. The presence of fresh footprints around the campsite indicated that the abandonment was sudden, possibly driven by an imminent threat or an urgent mission. This ignited curiosity and urgency among the men. Whispers of possible strategies and plans began to circulate, each scout eager to piece together the reasons behind the Sioux's abrupt departure. Captain James Custer, a man known for his sharp instincts and unwavering determination, stood surveying the site. His keen eyes missed nothing, from the placement of the tents to the remnants of a recently extinguished fire. He could sense the undercurrents of tension among his men, their thoughts mirroring his own concerns about the implications of this discovery for their ongoing mission. Just 20 minutes later, the scouts returned after thoroughly assessing the campsite. Their leader, Sergeant Thomas Reynolds, approached Custer with a report that carried the weight of their findings. "Sir," he began, his voice steady yet tinged with the excitement of discovery, "the Sioux left in a hurry. Their gear is mostly intact, suggesting they intended to return. There's also evidence of recent hunting, fresh animal bones scattered around the perimeter." Custer nodded thoughtfully. "This could mean they're planning something significant. We need to stay alert and prepare for any possible movements." By 10:30 a.m., the morning had fully blossomed into day, and the scouts delivered another update. "We've been tracking the movements since dawn," Reynolds reported, his hands gesturing to a map spread out on a makeshift table. "The campsite near East Muddy Creek is strategically located. It's close to the river, which provides a natural barrier and a water source. The positioning suggests they were either setting up a defensive position or staging for an offensive maneuver." Custer leaned in, his mind racing through tactical possibilities. "If they're here, our mission becomes even more critical. We need to understand their intentions and neutralize any threats they might pose. Ensure the men are rested and prepared for the tasks ahead." As the clock struck 1 p.m., the midday sun cast long shadows across the camp. A sense of gravity hung in the air, thick with the anticipation of what was to come. Custer, sensing the critical nature of the situation, called a meeting with his key officers. They gathered under the sparse canopy of a lone tree, the sounds of the wilderness momentarily subdued by the seriousness of their discussion. "We've uncovered important information today," Custer began, his voice firm yet measured. "But it also raises new questions. The Sioux are organized and present in this area. We need to proceed with caution and gather more intelligence before making any decisive moves." Recognizing the need for additional reconnaissance, Custer ordered a halt to their current operations. His decision was met with a mix of relief and apprehension among his men. They understood the importance of patience and the dangers of acting hastily in unfamiliar territory. Determined to unravel the mysteries that lay ahead, Custer dispatched additional scouts to explore the surrounding areas. Each scout was briefed meticulously, understanding that their mission was not just to gather information, but to seize the initiative in this unfolding drama. The men were acutely aware that every moment carried the weight of potential, and the outcome of their journey teetered on the edge of uncertainty. At 4 p.m., a figure emerged on the horizon, riding swiftly towards the camp. It was White Swan, a Crow courier known for his reliability and speed. His horse trotted with purpose, kicking up small clouds of dust as he approached. The scouts watched intently as White Swan dismounted, his face etched with urgency. "Captain Custer," White Swan greeted, his voice steady despite the evident haste. "I bring urgent news. A fresh camp has been established at the Rosebud Forks." The revelation ignited a flurry of activity within the camp. Orders were quickly relayed, and preparations were made for the next phase of their mission. By 5 p.m., the march resumed up the winding banks of the Rosebud River, the scouts moving with a renewed sense of purpose. The river, with its serpentine curves and hidden depths, posed both a natural obstacle and a strategic vantage point. Custer, ever vigilant, understood the importance of securing their flanks. He dispatched flankers, small, agile units tasked with scouting the surrounding area for any diverging trails that might lead to unexpected encounters or ambushes. These men moved silently through the underbrush, their eyes scanning for any signs of movement. Hours passed with no significant findings, but the absence of evidence suggested a troubling reality. The Sioux were not splitting up. Their unity indicated strength and coordination, making them a formidable opponent. This critical finding weighed heavily on Custer's mind. A unified Sioux force could potentially launch a coordinated attack, leveraging their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. The realization underscored the necessity of understanding the Sioux's plans and countering them effectively. As the clock ticked closer to 6:30 p.m., the column made its way to the gap leading towards Tullock Creek. The area was known for its narrow passages and dense vegetation, making it an ideal location for strategic positioning. Herendine, one of Custer's most trusted officers, had earlier reminded him of the tactical opportunities that scouting the creek could provide. Despite Herendine's timely reminder and the clear advantages of such a tactical position, Custer made the fateful decision to push forward without immediate reconnaissance. This moment marked a pivotal turning point in the unfolding events. The decision was met with a mixture of support and concern among his officers. Some believed that securing the creek could provide invaluable intelligence, while others trusted Custer's judgment to maintain the momentum of their mission. The shift in Custer's mindset from the morning's cautious optimism to the resolute forward momentum by 6:30 p.m. was driven by several factors. The pressing timeline of their mission, the strategic importance of the Rosebud Forks, and the need to maintain the element of surprise all contributed to his decision. Additionally, Custer's inherent confidence in his men's capabilities and his own leadership instincts played a crucial role. As dusk began to settle, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, the scouts moved with determination towards Tullock Creek. The fading light added an air of urgency to their march, the shadows lengthening as night approached. The sounds of the wilderness grew more pronounced, the rustling of leaves, the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, and the steady rhythm of their footsteps blending into the evening symphony. The journey through the gap was arduous, testing the endurance and resilience of each scout. The terrain became more challenging, with rocky outcrops and thick underbrush requiring careful navigation. The men worked in unison, their camaraderie evident in the way they supported each other through the toughest stretches. Upon reaching Tullock Creek, the scouts set up a temporary camp, taking a moment to rest and assess their position. The creek, with its clear, cold waters, offered a strategic vantage point. From here, they could monitor any movement through the gap and establish a defensive perimeter if necessary. The setting sun cast a serene glow over the water, contrasting sharply with the tension that still lingered among the men. As night descended, the camp was lit by the flickering flames of their fires, casting dancing shadows on the surrounding trees. The air was cool, carrying the sounds of the creek's gentle flow and the distant hoots of owls. Custer took a moment to reflect on the day's events, the weight of leadership pressing upon him. He knew that the decisions made today would shape the outcome of their mission and potentially alter the course of their journey. The men settled in for the night, their minds occupied with the day's discoveries and the uncertainties that lay ahead. Dreams mingled with the sounds of the wilderness, each scout contemplating their role in the unfolding narrative. The bond between them was unspoken but palpable, forged through shared challenges and a common purpose. In the quiet of the night, Custer remained awake, staring into the flames of his fire. His thoughts were a whirlwind of strategies and possibilities, each scenario playing out in his mind as he sought to anticipate the Sioux's next move. The mission was far from over, and the path ahead was fraught with danger and unpredictability. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, there was a steadfast determination, a belief in their cause, and the resilience to see it through. The night deepened, and the camp settled into a tense silence, the men resting as best they could. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, each moment a step closer to the heart of the Sioux's plans. Custer knew that the journey was far from over, but with each discovery and decision, they were drawing deeper into the narrative that was shaping their destiny. The following morning dawned with a crisp clarity, the air fresh with the promise of a new day. The fires from the previous night had dwindled to embers, and the camp was quiet as the scouts prepared for the day's endeavors. Custer gathered his officers for a briefing, the gravity of their mission underscoring every word. "Last night," Custer began, "we established a position at Tullock Creek. This will allow us to monitor any movement through the gap and provide a strategic advantage. However, we must remain vigilant. The Sioux are united, and their intentions are still unclear." Sergeant Reynolds nodded, his face set with determination. "Our flankers reported no signs of movement overnight. It seems the Sioux are maintaining their cohesion, which could spell trouble if we underestimate their coordination." Custer considered this, his mind weighing the possibilities. "We need to maintain our momentum while ensuring we do not leave ourselves vulnerable. Dispatch another team to scout the Rosebud Forks. We need to understand their new camp's size and activity." As the day progressed, the scouts executed their orders with precision. The sun climbed higher, casting a brilliant light over the landscape, revealing details that were previously hidden in the shadows. The team sent to scout the Rosebud Forks moved swiftly along the riverbank, their eyes scanning for any signs of the Sioux's presence. Hours passed with painstaking attention to detail. The scouts returned, bringing with them valuable intelligence that would shape the next steps of their mission. "Captain," Reynolds reported, "the camp at Rosebud Forks is substantial. There are multiple tents, storage areas, and what appears to be a central meeting area. The Sioux seem to be organizing for something, perhaps a large-scale movement or a strategic regrouping." Custer absorbed the information, his strategic mind already formulating responses. "We need to assess their numbers and their possible intentions. If they're preparing for an offensive, we must be ready to counteract swiftly. If they're regrouping for negotiation or another purpose, we need to understand their objectives." The scouts discussed their options, the tension in the air reflecting the high stakes of their mission. Each decision carried significant weight, with the potential to alter the course of their journey and impact their interactions with the Sioux. As afternoon approached, the scouts took a moment to rest, the weight of their responsibilities evident in their tired yet resolute expressions. Custer walked among his men, offering words of encouragement and ensuring that each man was prepared for the challenges ahead. The bond between them was strengthened by shared hardships and a common goal, their unity, a vital asset in the face of uncertainty. By late afternoon, the scouts were ready to make their move. Custer outlined the plan, a two-pronged approach to gather more intelligence and position themselves advantageously. Some would remain at Tullock Creek to monitor any movement, while others would advance towards the Rosebud Forks to observe the Sioux's activities more closely. The decision was not without risk. Venturing closer to the Sioux's camp meant potentially exposing themselves to detection, but the need for detailed intelligence outweighed the dangers. Custer trusted his men implicitly, knowing that their combined skills and determination would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As the scouts prepared to advance, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Every man was acutely aware of the delicate balance between caution and aggression, each step forward a calculated risk in the intricate dance of strategy and survival. The journey towards the Rosebud Forks was fraught with obstacles. The terrain became increasingly rugged, with rocky outcrops and dense thickets requiring careful navigation. The scouts moved with purpose, their movements synchronized and deliberate, each man attuned to the subtle signs of the wilderness that could indicate the Sioux's presence. Hours turned into a tense march, the sun beginning its descent once more, casting elongated shadows across the land. The scouts reached a vantage point overlooking the Sioux camp, the sight before them a mixture of organized activity and the raw beauty of the wilderness. The Sioux were indeed preparing for something significant. There was a palpable sense of urgency in their movements, a coordinated effort that suggested a planned operation. The scouts observed quietly, noting the positions of tents, the flow of supplies, and the interactions between the Sioux leaders and their warriors. Custer knew that understanding the Sioux's plans was crucial. "We need to gather as much information as possible without alerting them to our presence," he instructed. "Maintain our cover and report back with any significant developments." The scouts spent the evening meticulously documenting their observations, every detail noted with precision. As night fell, the camp remained quiet, the only sounds the distant calls of nocturnal animals and the soft murmur of the Sioux's activities below. Returning to Tullock Creek under the cover of darkness, the scouts felt a mix of relief and tension. They had gathered valuable intelligence, but the night held its own set of challenges. Setting up a secure perimeter, they prepared for whatever might come, their senses heightened to the slightest disturbance. Custer debriefed his officers, the information gleaned from the day's scouting missions proving invaluable. "We now have a clearer picture of the Sioux's preparations," he stated. "Our next move must be strategic. We can either attempt to disrupt their plans or position ourselves to gain further intelligence. The choice we make here will determine the path of our mission." The decision weighed heavily on Custer. Disrupting the Sioux's plans could prevent potential conflict, but it risked escalating tensions and provoking retaliation. Alternatively, positioning themselves to gain further intelligence could provide more opportunities for strategic action, but required patience and continued vigilance. After careful consideration, Custer opted for a balanced approach. "Let's position additional scouts to monitor their movements and establish communication lines. We need to be proactive without being overt. Our goal is to understand their intentions fully before making any decisive moves." The scouts dispersed accordingly, their roles clearly defined and their missions aligned with the overarching strategy. The night was a testament to their resilience and adaptability, each man playing his part in the intricate tapestry of their mission. As the hours passed, the camp settled into a tense quiet, the men resting as best they could while remaining alert to any signs of movement. The bond between them was unspoken but strong, forged through shared challenges and a collective sense of purpose. In the early hours of the morning, the first light of dawn began to break, signaling the start of another day in their arduous journey. The scouts prepared to rise, the events of the previous day fresh in their minds as they readied themselves for the challenges ahead. Custer stood at the forefront of the camp, surveying the horizon with a strategic eye. The mission was far from over, and each day brought new opportunities and obstacles. Yet amidst the uncertainty, there was a steadfast determination, a belief in their cause, and the resilience to see it through. As the sun climbed higher, casting its light over the land, the scouts of Custer moved forward with unwavering resolve. Their journey a testament to courage, strategy, and the unyielding human spirit in the face of adversity. The days that followed were marked by a relentless pursuit of understanding and strategic maneuvering. Each morning began with a briefing, the scouts gathering around their leaders to discuss the intelligence gathered overnight and plan the day's operations. The atmosphere was one of focused determination, the weight of their mission evident in every conversation and action. Custer's leadership was instrumental in maintaining morale and direction. His ability to balance caution with assertiveness kept the men motivated, even as the challenges intensified. He was not just a commander, but a beacon of strength, his presence inspiring confidence and loyalty among his scouts.